The Agenda is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service, moving forward.
Hello, welcome back to The Agenda. We are excited to have you back. We're excited for this season. Things have been going great. A lot of that has to do with the election season. It is close. September 10th is the primary here in the state of Delaware. That means a lot for Democratic candidates. And we're trying to bring as many candidates on the show as we can to give you a perspective of who's who in the state of Delaware. This episode is no different. Today, we have Dr. Debbie Harrington, who's running for Lieutenant Governor for the state of Delaware, here on the show today. Welcome, Dr. Harrington.
Thank you, Kerwin.
We are excited. You're a first-time guest here on The Agenda.
Yes, I am. This is my first time, and I'm excited about it.
We're excited to have you here.
Yeah.
Trust us. At The Agenda, anytime we have a guest, we're excited.
Yeah.
Okay. But we are happy to have you here. We hope it's not the last time that you're here. But enough about us, more about you. You are running for Lieutenant Governor here in the state of Delaware,
yes,
with other candidates as well. It's not uncontested now.
No, it's not. In fact, I have. We did at one time. I had three competitors, but one has since dropped out of the race, and now so we have two. So there are a total of three of us for Lieutenant Governor on the Democratic side, and then of course on the Republican side, which one of us will face in November, is one candidate. I don't think she has a competitor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we're moving through, not everyone. I don't know how it's possible, but not everyone may know who you are, okay?
Yes.
So, I mean, for someone who does not know, someone who's watching the show, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, first of all, I am a wife. I've been married for 28 years.
Congratulations.
I know, that's something. Well, and my husband is a small business owner, and so he has been doing business in Delaware for the time period that we have lived here, and which has been a little over 18 years now. I have three adult children.
Hey, I'm here with you with the three kids. I get it.
Yes, I have three adults. The two of them are out, and the last one she was born with exceptionalities, and so she's still home. But all three are doing great things, and they're just definitely the joy of my life. I am professionally, I am a retired colonel. I was in the Army for 25 years, and I was tracking very well to become a general officer. But I decided with my youngest daughter at the time was not on grade level, and I decided that it was more important to get out and get her to a school who would concentrate on academics. Mm-hmm. She was born blind, totally blind, and with cerebral palsy. And so that school was in Philadelphia. And at the time, I was working for Military Sea Lift Command and in Washington, D.C. So I retired, came out, moved to Philadelphia, got her on grade level, and then we moved to Delaware 2 years later. So that's a little bit about me, and I guess we'll talk more as we go down the line.
Yes, Dr. Harrington, first of all, thank you for your service.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. I need to know, the state needs to know, it's a heck of a transition, I think, from working for Military Sea Lift Command.
Yes, it is.
I've contracted with the Army now for the past 17 years. So I understand where we're talking about, but also going from that to government service, true in the street, working with people, government service. What led you to that?
Well, when I came to Delaware, it was still about my daughter's education. It really was, the youngest one, and making sure that she got a quality education. So when I got here, I immediately got involved in the legislative process because there was things we needed to do in terms of advocating for those students who are blind or visually impaired. It started out that way, and then it changed very quickly to advocating for all students with disabilities. But specifically, we wanted to change some things like students who are blind or visually impaired at the time didn't have a 12-month entitlement. And so we wanted to change that. There was a student-teacher ratio that was 28-1. That was particularly a large ratio in order for teachers to really ensure that the students received a quality education. So I came here out of the service and immediately started with advocating for doing some legislative advocating. And then I ended up joining the different boards and councils. And so you see how I began to connect with the community. I'm now on the Board of Trustees for Delaware State University. I'm on the Board of Examiners of Psychologists, the Early College School, Board of Directors, House of Hope for women who are homeless. And so and I've been involved with NAACP and Middletown Police Advisory Board. So I just really connected with the community. So, but here's the specific thing about my military service and what I'm trying to do now, which is to become our next lieutenant governor. I was in the Army, I was a logistics officer. And it's all about acquiring resources, staging, storing, moving those resources on to the different organizations. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what this lieutenant governor's position is all about. Well, perhaps not all about, but it's certainly a big piece of what the lieutenant governor does. The lieutenant governor, does chairs the state Senate. The lieutenant governor chairs the Board of Pardons. But there's a third piece that's huge, and that is being the conduit between people and communities and resources. Where do we place that? That's what I did. That's what I did in the military. I was a logistics officer who put resources with the right people, with the right organizations, at the right time, in the right manner. So I'm coming into something that I'm used to doing. This is not far at all from what I have done in the military for those 25 years.
Yeah. My first job out of college was working directly with the Salvation Army of Delaware.
Oh, yeah.
And we were helping knock down barriers for people that are going to work. It was the Keep a Job program several years ago. Mm-hmm. But I firmly remember at that time, our lieutenant governor was Mr. John Carney. And he would be walking down the street, taking my clients, a couple of them, to lunch to talk about some things that were going on because they had some serious barriers. He was helping them with resources. He was truly behind-the-scenes social worker kicking down doors. And what got me was, I said, this is the lieutenant governor. Like, this is crazy. What kind of state is this? Right. And then before seeing Bethany Hall Long with her Narcan and being in the streets and doing those things. And, Delaware is one of these states that people are going to know who you are. Right. And you can't have a lot of air about you. Right. Oh, I'm not doing this like other big states where you're a lieutenant governor and you have security all around you. No, you're in the street and you're doing work. So can we expect that from you as lieutenant governor?
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to it. That's the difference in deciding to run for Senate. If I had decided to run for a Senate seat or a state representative seat, that's about legislation and making sure that we are responding to the needs of the public. But this lieutenant governor's job is about what I know perfectly how to do. Mm-hmm. That is to put resources with people and organizations, the right resources with people and organizations. And I'm an on-the-ground kind of person. So you have to be out there doing just what you just finished talking about, connecting with people, with our residents, with our Delawareans, and knowing, understanding, finding out and understanding what their needs are, and how do we respond to those needs? How do we respond to sometimes individual needs, and how do we respond to the needs of groups and different communities? And the only way you're gonna know that, the real way to know that, I mean, of course, you could sit behind the desk and somebody could tell you, well, this community needs that or this community needs that. But the real way to understand what people need and how we get those resources to them is to be out there with them. So, town halls, public forums, out there going to community meetings. And so, yes, I wasn't here when Governor Carney was the lieutenant governor, but I can understand that. I can understand his approach. And I certainly can understand Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall-Long's approach in connecting to people, letting people know that you're there, that you're listening, but not only that you're listening, but that you have an understanding and you know how to make it happen, as we say in the military, make it happen. And that's my way of, that's how I've been brought up. And that's my approach to things.
So would you say that that's your intention? I'm very focused because I'm meeting with a lot of candidates, not just on the air. Thank you for those who are watching, but also off the air. They're calling. They want opinions. They want to have and want to know our feedback from what we've gathered from the folks that are in the public, and I'm happy to give it. But I'm very curious to know what their intention is. Intentionality is very big with me. And the main reason is because there's so much at stake. Right. There's always stuff at stake.
As always.
But right now, I don't like the expression as saying that our country's on fire, because it's not on fire. I know the countries that are on fire, and this is not it. Right. But we are at a pivotal point where the legislation that's coming up, the fact that we're going to have to ensure states' rights, and whomever is the lieutenant governor is going to be in charge of the Senate, so to speak, that's going to help with the passing of the bills and the laws. So much of that is at stake right now. That's what we're going to have to do to protect ourselves, unfortunately, because there will be uncertainty possibly in the federal government. So, from an intention standpoint, what is yours?
Well, is what we've been talking about.
Right.
So we did something in the military. When I was in the military, every time I changed the locations, positions, I changed who I was working for, who I was working with every 2 years. I moved. I picked up my family. We moved to a different place. And so, but we had a thing that we did in the military, and when you go into a new position, particularly from a leadership standpoint, that you waited the first 30 days where you could grasp, to give yourself time to grasp who's there, what are their plans, what are their goals, how do they fit in the organization, and how you're going to fit now in this organization, and what does this organization need. You didn't even, when you went to a new position, you didn't even change the mission or the vision, not so much the mission as much as the vision. You didn't change the vision until you had been there at least 30 days, and sometimes people waited 60 days. What I'm saying is that there is a time period that you ought to wait to understand what all that needs to be done. I have thoughts now, I have things now that I know I want to tackle. I want to go in the first 30 days, and I want to help reshape the Office of Veteran Services. We have 70,000 plus veterans out there and their families.
In the state of Delaware.
In the state of, have near 70,000 veterans in the state of Delaware and their families that need support. We have an Office of Veteran Services that their staff size, their complete staff size may be somewhere near between 7, 10, maybe 10 people to handle those 70,000 veterans and their families. And I just think that's, from the outside looking in, I think that that's impossible to do well, to do really well, to do to the level that our families need and they deserve. So that's an area that I want to jump right in. But there are other areas that, that we need a lot of work in education, that I don't want to just jump right in. I want to go, observe, understand, get a feel for, and that's a practice that I think works very well. I have someone ask me the other day whether or not I was going to change the staff, the lieutenant governor's staff, and I told them then that I'm going to go in and I'm going to try to, first of all, understand who's there, what are they capable of, and what's their plans? Who knows what their plans are? But yes, I do have people who are with me right now who understands the priorities that I have already set, and they understand what needs to happen. They understand my goals and objectives. So there are people who I would want to be with me as we transition.
Of course.
But to just dive in and go to work, no, I don't think that does the people of Delaware any good. I want to go in and understand the issues. But again, I would come into this position with already some deep understanding of issues. I mean, I serve on these boards. I know there's a shortage in psychologists in Delaware, and psychology professionals in Delaware. I know that we have a teacher shortage in Delaware. I know that we have to look at our funding. The funding for the school system, particular public school system, and perhaps look at whether or not that should be weighted, and what about opportunity funding. And there are so many things. I know that we have got to do something about affordable housing. I know that. Right now, I can tell you right now, sitting here today, before going into that position, that I believe that we should have a housing health consortium where we bring together bankers and mortgagers, builders, landlords, renters, and nonprofit organizations that's out there putting up transitional homes for temporary solutions. Bring all of those people and organizations together, and let's talk about how to resolve the affordable housing issue. So I know there are things that we need to do for the people of Delaware. And most of us do. You know that. But I don't intend to jump right in head first. And I'm very much one who goes in, thinks about things, look at, evaluate, and then decide. I don't prolong decisions. That's just something that the military teaches you.
Right.
We don't have time to prolong decisions. But we do a deep dive, and we do evaluate well. So that's my intention for Delaware. And I would add, most important, I would emphasize, because we talked about it a little earlier, but I would emphasize that I am a boots on the ground kind of person. That's what I've come out of. And I believe that we need a lieutenant governor, Delaware needs a lieutenant governor who is on the ground, working with people, touching people, understanding the things they go through and the things they need, and then coming back, being a huge voice. And I would be a huge voice for the people of Delaware and what they need.
One topic that I did not hear you say, and I'm bringing it up to most of the candidates, I don't want to say all in case I've forgotten, but one that is very close to me is, and I think it resolves several issues that we're having. Let me back that up, because somebody will bring that up to me, I know. I'm not saying it's going to completely resolve the issues,
right,
but it is going to help towards resolution, and that is economic development in the state. The Lieutenant Governor in the past has done, Lieutenant Governors in the past have worked very hard to work with the governor and the Department of Economic Development and our economic development counterparts here in the state to be in the room in conversations with business leaders, to ensure that Delaware is up to par in regards to economic development. Mm-hmm. We are not where we need to be.
Right.
Okay, so I would say, I don't want to say, oh, we're, wheels have fallen off and what have you, but I will say that there's opportunities for improvement. With those opportunities for improvement becomes opportunities for people to deal with affordable housing, right?
Right, sure.
It brings funds to our area for education. It
right.
brings health care to folks that may not have that opportunity, or may be relying on state or federal subsidies for health care, that now can be under an employer's plan and benefit for their entire family. So economic development is something that I think is very important to our state. Right. I wish more attention has gone to it. I challenge others, candidates and other politicians currently to not forget about economic development and work on it as hard as anything else. So I can't let you leave here
without talking
about it.
Well, you're absolutely right. We can't, and I can't say it exactly like the person said it to me, but she said, education, if we can get, and she's absolutely right, if we can get education and employment, jobs, economics right, mm-hmm. we can get a whole lot of the other, that's basically what she was saying. But so if we can get education right, mm-hmm. and we can get employment right, and I like to refer to it as also a part of it as a part of economic development as creating wealth mm-hmm. for our individuals. Which I think in order to create wealth, we got to really, something that we don't focus on that we really should focus on is financial literacy, mm-hmm. and we got to get it in our schools, and we got to get it in our before and after care programs, our tutoring programs, our the PAL and all those places that our students go to after school. We got to get that financial literacy, because we got to start teaching people how to save, how to, first of all, you earn, but how to save, how to invest, so that we can have a generational change mm-hmm. rather than just an individual change, so that it becomes a practice and a culture in terms of creating wealth. Then we got to get jobs. And of course, we have some jobs here that, from my understanding, they are not filled. Well, guess what? We have to train our students early on. We got to get them early on for the skills that would be sufficient for the jobs that are open. They're not filling those jobs, perhaps because we don't have the people ready in terms of skills. So we got to train. We got to look at the curriculum, the pathways that we have at the secondary level, school level, and determine how do we build a workforce. We have to build a workforce.
But how do we bring in employers that have competitive wages, right? That have wages that can sustain a lifestyle that they're used to seeing in New Jersey, Washington, and surrounding areas, where people that live in Delaware, including myself, and then leave to go work there and come home every night, hence the bedroom community. But when can we start bringing those employers here to Delaware? And I think a lot of that has to do with employers are run by their employees, and they know what their employees are willing to withstand and not withstand. And if the schools aren't right, they know that their employees won't come here.
They're not coming.
If we can't fill seats, because the whole point of them coming is to grow, and if we know that we can't grow because there's not employees that can fill the bill, so to speak, they're not going to come here. All of that is economic development.
And I'll tell you something else, too, Kerwin. And I'm probably the only one talking about this. And in its state, and sometimes I kind of hesitate and say, well, maybe I won't mention it right now, but it just comes out every time, and it's going to come out now.
Hey, we need it.
We must have a modernized transportation system
Oh.
to help attract those businesses, those employers who are that they have the STEM. That their organization is about STEM, and that they are paying the kind of money that people can really live off. Because we spend most of what we earn, most of it goes towards housing. So we got to have a salary that's able to pay for that unaffordable housing, and then all the other things that go with it, the transportation, the school, the tuitions that our children have to pay, and on and on and on, So I think it is most important to our economic development, to our individual wealth, and wealth that crosses generations, not just right now for this family, but crosses generations for us to approach that in a good way, is to have a modernized transportation system. It brings in new jobs, infrastructure jobs. It also encourages, it attracts others. If I can live in Sussex and work in Newcastle and get there
in an hour.
You know what I'm saying?
Which isn't unreasonable. If I can get to D.C. in an hour, why can't I get to,
why can't I get, we'll reduce our carbon footprint. We'll take cars off the road, so many cars, the accidents, the commute, the time for the commute. I think it would have a tremendous impact on economic development, as well as that we love being here, living and working, and we can enjoy. I can live in Newcastle and go down to Sussex and enjoy the beaches and the shopping and all of that. I could do that, and we don't have that now. I think it's important that we do that. So that's another issue that we talked about. Not jumping in head first, but that's another issue that's really on my mind, particularly in terms of economic development and having that so that we develop well economically.
So in closing, we have about 2 more minutes left. Tell Delawareans why you are the candidate of choice for the office of Lieutenant Governor in in the next primary election.
In the next primary election, I am battle tested. I really am. I'm a combat veteran. I have served in the military for 25 years. I worked for some extraordinary people in some extraordinary organizations. I worked for NATO when NATO had 26 nations, and I was the deployment chief. I worked with people from all of those nations, and we not only differed some in language, but we differed in what's important, our priorities. But we worked together. We could always work together, and we could always come to consensus. I have the experience, the leadership experience. I have the legislative experience from an advocate standpoint. I am ready to go day one. I am completely ready, and I have lived experiences. I have a lot of lived experiences that prepares me for this, to be Lieutenant Governor. And in a way that we need our Lieutenant Governor, someone who has a deep understanding of the things the Delawareans face today.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Harrington, right here on the agenda, explaining why she's the candidate of choice when it comes to the Lieutenant Governor's race here in the state of Delaware. We'd like to thank her and her team for their time today and coming here and talking to you and ensuring that their ideas fit your agenda. So when you go out on the 10th of September and you make a decision in regards to who's your next Lieutenant Governor, you can make an informed decision. That wasn't always the case here in Delaware. We were depending upon other news sources to do that, and sometimes it skips. So we're very thankful to DETV for being able to bring that out to us. But thank you very much for tuning in this week. Real quick, your web address for people to come out.
Yes, I was going to say that. Thank you very much
No
for
problem.
that. Real quick, please go to DebbieForDelaware.com. DebbieForDelaware.com. You can go there. You can vote. I'm sorry, not vote. You can donate and you can volunteer at Debbie for Delaware. And you can also learn even more about me. So please go to DebbieForDelaware.com. And then on September the 10th, vote Debbie Harrington for Lieutenant Governor.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And also, hurry up and get registered to vote if you haven't. Time is running out, and there's plenty of avenues for you to do that. If you don't know how, give us a call here at the station. We can direct you, okay? Thank you for tuning in. Have a great week.